Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Alex Riley, Communications Coordinator for Pender County Schools, here with an update for you on the vote that took place this morning by the Pender County Board of Education regarding the restart of the 2020-21 school year. Option 5 was selected by the Board of Education. Now, in today's video, we're going to go over just what that means, how this process played out in terms of deciding that this was the option to select, and all the data and information that the district has collected in helping to make this decision, as well as what it's going to look like for the upcoming school year. But before we do that, let's take a look back at how we got to this moment and what this means going forward. So just as a reminder, all schools in North Carolina were closed on March 14th by an executive order from Governor Roy Cooper because of the COVID-19 global pandemic. That executive order was set to last through the end of the month. Then on March 23rd, the governor came back and extended the closure to May 15th. And once again, he came back on April 24th and extended the closure through the end of the 2019-2020 school year. On July 14th, Governor Cooper announced that schools would start the 2020-21 school year under what's being called Plan B. The biggest takeaway from Plan B addresses school capacity as well as social distancing, with the biggest point being that all students must meet a 6-foot social distancing requirement at all times, even in the classrooms. With that in mind, the Pender County Board of Education was presented with 5 options to begin in-person learning under Plan B for the 2020-21 school year. Option 1 paired students into 2 different groups. Group A would come to school on Monday and Wednesday, while Group B would come on Tuesday and Thursday. All students would take part in online learning on Friday, as well as the days that they weren't physically in the school building. Option 2 is very similar, just a different day pattern. Group A would come to school on Monday and Tuesday, while Group B would come on Thursday and Friday. All students would take part in online learning on Wednesday, as well as the days that they aren't in the building. Option 3 split students into 2 week groups. So Group A would come for a week and then have a week of online learning, while Group B was actually in the school building. And then that process would rotate out until further notice. Option 4 split students into 3 groups, an A group, B group, and C group, where you would come to school for a week and then have 2 weeks of online learning. Option 5 combined a little bit of several of those other options, with K-8 students, that's kindergarten through 8th grade, coming to school on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, depending on what group they're in, with online learning on Wednesday and the days that they weren't in the school building, and high school students doing the 3-week rotation with a week of in-person learning followed by 2 weeks of online learning. After careful consideration, the Pender County Board of Education selected option 5 as the plan that the district would start in for the 2020-21 school year. That means kindergarten through 8th grade students are going to be in class 2 days a week with 3 days of online learning, while high school students will do a full week of in-person education followed by 2 weeks of online learning. While this plan covers families who are intending to send their students back for in-person learning, all students will have the option to learn online throughout the year. And there are several different ways that that will take place. Later on in this video, we'll discuss what those options are and how you can sign up for them. I'm pleased to welcome some special guests who are going to go over the logistics of this plan with us and talk about the process of building this plan as well as what went into the decisions that were made. I'd like to start with Superintendent Dr. Stephen Hill. Dr. Hill, thanks so much for joining me today.
Thank you, Alex. I appreciate all the work that you do to help to get information out to the public, and I'm glad to be here today to help everyone best understand the situation we're in and the decisions that are having to be made in a very difficult situation.
All right, Dr. Hill, obviously there were a lot of models that were out there that were being presented. Pender County Schools obviously looked at a lot of those models, kind of picked some pieces and parts from what they saw from other districts, as well as designed some new pieces for themselves. The plan that was ultimately voted on is kind of a hybrid of several different plans. Why was this the one that was recommended to the board? What made it so appealing for what the district needed?
Alex, I don't know if I'd use the word appealing, but I would say that this is the best of the worst case scenario we could come up with. We're trying to be responsive to the requirements of the state, and in the same process, what we're trying to do is be representative of all our stakeholders. We talked, as we mentioned before in other interviews, we've talked to family representatives, we've talked to local government entities, health professionals. Of course, we've got to go by the requirements established by the governor and Department of Health and Human Services. we tried to realistically include something that everybody saw was important into a plan that would be safe as possible for students. And that's really where option 5 came from, was the effort to be representative of our community needs and wants, but also to create a safe environment for our students.
There's definitely families out there that have students who are going to be in the K-8 group as well as the high school group, and that means 2 different schedules. Can you explain a little bit about the decision to put forth a recommendation that those groups have a different schedule and what that's going to mean and why that's important?
Alex, what we did was we actually tried to keep K-12 on the same schedule, hoping that would be the simplest for people to understand. All those efforts were towards that, and what we found with at the 9-12 level was that the classroom sizes with the students that we have, the complexities of their schedules, because it's on a credit system at high school. So they could literally go to school, a 10th grader could be taking 9th grade classes, 11th grade classes, college classes. Course sizes are from low numbers to extremely high numbers. And what we found is there just wasn't the room based on our population and the fact that we don't have enough kids on the virtual academy side yet to actually pull enough out of the classroom. These things may be looked at again down the road as we move forward with collecting information from parents and students. But right now what we found was to logistically make it possible to meet the requirements passed down from the governor and the Department of Health and Human Services is that we had to go to 3 cohorts to make that logistically fit in our high schools. So that's why instead of an A-B cohort at the high school level, we have an A-B-C now.
So I'd like to bring on Dr. Charles Aiken, the Chief Academic Officer for Pender County Schools, here to talk a little bit about things. And before we jump into the discussion, Dr. Aiken, I want to kind of go over the Restarting Together survey that we pushed out to the community over the last couple days. We got 4,349 total responses, and those covered 5,862 kids. So obviously a lot of families with multiple children in our school district. A couple of the big interesting pieces that came out in terms of data. 55.4% said that they would send their student back for in-person on-campus education. 17.6% said that they wouldn't send their child back, while 27.1% said they were undecided at this time and needed more information. Another key piece of information was the argument of days versus weeks. 55.8% said they favored an alternating day schedule, while 44.2% said they preferred a straight week of education before alternating that way. When you and the staff kind of sat down and looked at the data that was coming in from the parent survey, what did you kind of glean from it, and what did you all take it to mean?
So Alex, that's a really good question. We started the process looking at what were our options for returning in general. And initially we were told we could choose from 3 possibilities. Plan A was we could bring all of our students back with just some social distancing. And of course, as educators, that's what we want the most, and we know our community wants that the most too. And we want to make sure we can do it safely, but we also haven't seen our students in a long time. And we knew that was going to be really important to the community. The plan that we ended up getting presented to us by the governor was a plan B, which meant that we were only going to be able to get as many students in the building that we could keep 6 foot apart at all times. So that's what kind of generated this issue of how do we do students either through a day or a week. And we knew from just looking at national polls and even research in North Carolina that it was going to be a pretty mixed feeling. Both have their advantages, but we knew that the community, we really wanted to ask the community what we thought might be best. And we know there are all kinds of factors, and we knew that the community was going to want to be able to give us a chance for what might work best for their home and their students. And we wanted to ask our staff as that as well. And we knew we was probably going to be a tight fit. We even looked at the data in terms of by elementary or by grade span. And what we saw was that, even within the grade spans, we kind of always had this really tight race between an alternating day or an alternating week pattern. And so, as the data kind of showed, you mentioned, 55% leaning toward the days, and our staff surveys were pretty similar.
Obviously, it's been quite some time since students in Pender County have been back in a classroom for in-person instruction. Schools closed in March, and no one's been back since then. How important was it to design a plan that got kids not only back in the classroom, but back into a little bit of a rhythm and a routine so they can start to feel a little bit normal in that sense?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. We've heard from our students, from our parents, our community, our teachers have been some of the loudest about missing their students, wanting to see them, wanting to be able to reconnect with them on a regular basis. We know that our students need to reconnect with each other. So when we looked at trying to figure out a kind of an alternating day or an alternating week or even a combination of, a couple things really stood out. So one, we knew that from our parent community, we needed to have some predictability, a routine that our families could look at their work schedules, look at their home lives, and really be able to plan out long term. We also knew from our teachers, they want to see the students as much as they possibly can. The alternating days pattern does allow us to see more students every week, but we get to see them less. A week by week pattern means that the students that you do see, you really get to do a long-term, 5-day or more stretch of instruction, which is great. It also means though that there are some students that are waiting for their turn to get in, and so they are then having to kind of work with the online process. And where we kind of ended up based on the feedback and just looking at how to do school and the 6-foot rule was that for our youngest students, we'll be able to see them every day or every week on an alternating basis. And I think that will allow us to really maintain those early concepts and those early skills where they need to see their teachers as much as possible. And the good news is when they do leave at the end of their rotation, we'll be able to make sure that whatever Chromebook device they have, we can make sure they have downloaded the work with them before they leave, unlike what we were having to do back in the spring, where unfortunately our students left us so fast we never really had a chance to get that up. And with the high schools, with the going by a week, we'll be able to do some really long-term work with them. And then again, when they leave us on that Friday, they will be able to make sure they leave with those assignments on their Chromebooks so that we don't have to worry as much about the internet connectivity at home. We'll be able to make sure they have it with them when they leave.
And then finally, the biggest question, there are a significant number of parents who are concerned about sending their student back for in-person learning with the pandemic still going on. But there sounds like there's a good number of options out there for them in terms of online learning. Can you go over some of those options with us, and how can parents sign up for that and get their kids registered for it?
So that's a great question, Alex. And this is a tough choice for parents. When we want to give our parents as much information on how to do this. We know this is not going to be an easy decision. We want all our students in school, and ultimately that's what we hope will happen as soon as possible. In the meantime, though, for our parents who have looked and decided that for their child or for their household, the online option may be the best, we're really excited about what we've put together. So for kindergarten through 5th grade, we really want them to be able to maintain their connection to school. It is our youngest group. We work on some of the most foundational skills and concepts. And so what we're going to set up for K-5, kindergarten through 5th grade, is those students will still be assigned a cohort, just like their peers who are going to go do the in-person instruction. So if you have a student, Alex, if you have a child at home, he might be assigned Group A. So on whatever days that Group A students are in school, your son or daughter will be able to Skype or hang in using Google Hangout for certain periods of the day when we're doing either mini lessons or we're doing some small group work, and we'll schedule those out, and they'll be able to still stay attached to a Pender County teacher covering specific Pender County curriculum and standards. And it'll be for the reading, writing, math, science, and social studies, those core options. In 6th through 8th grade, we're going to be trying to expand our virtual academy presence. It's something that we started in Pender County last year, piloting it. It went really, really well. We've had a lot of very positive feedback from the parents and the students that were involved, and we've been really excited with the work that we've been doing with the teachers. So we're looking at 2 options. Right now we're going to try to see about working where we will provide content, again, for those 4 main courses: English Language Arts, Math, Science, and Social Studies. And if we had students in 7th or 8th grade and middle school that were anticipating taking high school courses, we will make sure that those courses are available too. We're looking at 2 ways to do that. It might be that a Pender County teacher will be facilitating those courses. It may be that we work with a teacher online through a company that we've been working with and very happy with. So we're looking at some options for middle school. In high school, we've already really had a lot of options for online learning, and we're really going to try to broaden those and strengthen those. One option, we have a lot of students that work with what we call Apex Online Learning. It is largely a self-paced process, but we can assign very specific curriculum, the same types of courses that students would take in school. For the most part, we can't do every class, but many can be. We also have a lot of students that already participate in the North Carolina Virtual Public School. That one is a little bit more paced out. You actually have a North Carolina certified teacher, and they will schedule certain times where you should be checking in with your teacher. You might have a group lesson. Some of that will depend on the exact class, but that one is a little more paced out, not quite as much independent as, say, Apex Learning. And then probably our most paced out or most structured option would be our virtual academy. And that is the same process that I just mentioned for middle school. Our pilot process was that we had purchased some content and then worked with teachers through the company who were North Carolina certified teachers, and they sort of ran it as an academy model. We will look to provide that as an option, but we also are taking a look at possibly, again, having Pender County teachers who might facilitate those very same classes. Our biggest goal in this entire online process from kindergarten through 12th grade was making sure that no matter what, our students were still meeting all of their promotion requirements and moving toward graduation. So especially our 9th through 12th graders, we want to make sure not just getting promoted, but also meeting their graduation requirements. Because no matter what, that is still our goal under any circumstance. We are wanting to push our students to still be able to go from their classroom to future careers. All right, so obviously the next big question is how do I sign my child up if this is something that I'm really interested in? So by Wednesday, no later than Wednesday midday, we will have 3 links available on our Pender County Restarting Together site, and we'll also be sending out some phone messaging, helping people know where to go, and we're going to ask our schools to try to help get the message out to all of our parents. But we'll have 1 link for our kindergarten through 5th grade parents, 1 link for our 6th through 8th grade parents, and 1 link for our 9th through 12th grade. The applications or the registration is pretty similar. There's a few differences in the questions because of kind of how each one of those is going to be working. We're going to release those again sometime Wednesday by mid-morning, no later than that, and then we're going to leave the registration links open through the weekend into on Monday, July 27th. If parents have any questions, of course, they can reach out to Pender County Schools and we'll walk everyone through the process.
Well, I'd like to thank Dr. Aiken and Dr. Hill for both stopping by to take a moment and talk with us today. As always, the latest information on the restarting efforts for Pender County Schools are going to be available at pendercountyschools.net/restarting together. You can find the latest info there as always. We'll be updating that site throughout the next couple of weeks with registration links, with more details, more information, how school will look. All the pertinent information will be there. And you can always follow us also on social media by searching Pender Schools on Facebook or on Twitter. Thank you so much for taking the opportunity to watch this video. We hope this answered some of your questions. We look forward over the coming weeks to restarting together. Thank you so much. Have a pleasant afternoon.